Engstrom.
Here.
Councilman Zipridge.
He's on the phone call.
Councilwoman Horgan.
Here.
Councilman Schwabenbauer.
Here.
Councilman Taylor.
Here.
Councilman Whalen.
Here. Thank you. Sunshine State.
Let the minutes reflect that in compliance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act, the notice of this meeting has been provided by notifying the Asbury Park Press, the Chilworth Times, and the Star Ledger by placing a notice on the bulletin board and filing same with the Borough Clerk on January 1, 2017.
Thank you. Motion to suspend the regular order of business. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the 2016 audit presentation. Are there any questions for our CFO or for our finance chair?
I have about 2 minutes of comments I can make if you want to anything. Just to give a overall
that's
picture
fine,
for
yeah.
everybody. Yeah, in the past, our
Why don't you
auditor,
speak into the microphone, Linda, so we
Sure.
can hear you better?
we need longer reports on these things. There we go. In the past, our auditor has appeared before council to present the audit committee report, but in as much as I did this for 10 years for PricewaterhouseCoopers, we felt there was no need to have him come. So I'm just going to give about 2 minutes of comments on the 2016 audit report. First and most importantly, the opinion from our auditor was clean with respect to the regulatory basis of accounting, so it was unmodified, which is great. Our balance sheet remains strong. Cash position is down a couple $100,000, but the overall balance is over $6 million, so on that base it's fine. School taxes payable are up $500,000, and I just want to highlight that because that continues to be a drain on our financial position. Parking revenue was up $500,000 last year, so thanks for that, Mr. Whalen, and Parking Committee. We spent about $1 million less than we took in, so that was great. We also used more of the prior year surplus to fund operations than we had in the prior year, so the ending surplus is lower than it was at the beginning of the year. But that's okay because we still ended with $1.6 million in surplus, and I think that's a healthy position. I wouldn't want to see it move much lower, given our overall basis, but I think that that's pretty good. The only other thing I want to highlight is that with respect to fixed assets, we're carrying about $1.8 million more at the end of 2016 than we did at the end of 2015. So our fixed assets are going up, and the reason I highlight that is that's one of those hidden expenses because it creates a capitalization or debt service charge. We've just approved our capital request list that we do every 2 years. And I just want to remind the committee chairs that that is also a hidden charge. So even though you don't see it in your departmental budgets, it does hit the bottom line through that. So that's pretty much it. And the only other thing I would mention is that there were no comments in the audit. There were no findings. There were no recommendations in this audit. And I want to thank Eugenia for that, for all of her hard work. And I want to thank all the department heads for their dedication to following the correct processes and procedures, because that's how you get a clean audit. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Linda, and again, thank you as the chair, as well as the members of the committee, our CFO, as well as our auditor for doing a fine job and putting up to many hours in terms of deliberative hours that it takes to take care of this. It's painstaking task, and I appreciate it, and the rest of the council does. Any members for the chair of the Finance Committee with respect to the audit presentation? If not, any members of the public that have any questions with respect to the audit presentation made by, which is a summary by our chair, and again, I appreciate the fact that we're not paying the auditor to come here to do that. Okay, seeing no members of the public, motion to close. Second. All in favor? Resolution 17-155, resolution which accepts the audit presentation as well as the certification of the annual audit, which has to be signed by all the council persons. It's going to be circulated today in terms of your affirmation. Motion? Linda? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion to resume regular order of business.
So I'd just like to say one thing. I do have the sheet that everyone has to sign.
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
So I just want to make sure you...
Motion? Second? All in favor? Okay, first items on the agenda is the tonnage restriction on Ridge Avenue. This was discussed at the last council meeting. Attached to your council package is a sheet that's been provided with respect to Chapter 680, which is our local tonnage restriction on a number of roads. And if the council is in agreement with it, we can add Ridge Avenue from from Doctors Parker Boulevard to Monmouth Street, I would think, to that regulation. And it would prohibit trucks over 4 tons. Any discussion? This is what the council had asked to look into.
This is the first
You weren't here the last time, yeah.
discussion. I know this was discussed before the council, probably about 10 years ago. Bridge Avenue does serve as a corridor for deliveries and or traffic of businesses on Central Avenue that have heavy trucks.
But Stanley, the reason why I said it would be from West Bergen, it would be from Doctors Parker Boulevard to Monmouth Street is that it would not include Central Avenue. In any event, Section 680-39 of our ordinance does exclude the delivery of essential services as well as materials on any businesses or residences in that particular street or area. This would be for a blanket exclusion of non-delivery items and non-service items for those businesses and residences there. So if a business is in that area and has to make a delivery of goods and services as well as equipment, that is fine. The intent is to preclude 4 tons of people just trying to avoid Shrewsbury Avenue cutting through there.
And Mayor, do you mind if I have the Chief McCollum say a word about this as well?
Chief can say 2 words if he wants.
Is that even better?
Thank you. So I spoke about this with my traffic sergeant. He
Why
had a
don't
couple
you come up so we pick you up on tape? You can sit down there in the witness box if you want.
In the bottom.
So I talked to our traffic sergeant about this, and he had a couple of options that you could consider. One was, as the mayor said, just make a 4-ton restriction, add to the schedule Bridge Avenue from Monmouth Street to Dr. James Parker Boulevard, or Chestnut Street to Dr. James Parker Boulevard. But I believe the ordinance excludes borough vehicles anyway. We were just concerned about DPW trucks getting in and out of their facility. But I think the ordinance would exclude
The ordinance, as I indicated earlier, also excludes deliveries and or access points to businesses that have those 4 tons. For example, I mean, there's Blow Petroleum, which is on Bergen Place, or actually on Doctors Parker Boulevard. Those trucks are over 4 tons. They have to get there. If they're making a delivery, they would be able to do that. It just excludes non-site generation.
Maybe the borough attorney would be better to answer this than me, but I think that it might be a problem if we receive complaints about vehicles going to Central Avenue, as they do have another route to get there that does not include Bridge Avenue. They could use Highway 35 or Shrewsbury Avenue to get to the same location without using Bridge Avenue. And I know that is one of the concerns, is those particular trucks that are probably raising some of these complaints. The other option is to put a different weight limit on that street of what our traffic sergeant recommended as a possibility was 13 tons. It allows box trucks, but doesn't allow dual axle box trucks, and it doesn't allow tractor trailer type vehicles, which may solve the issue. I'm not exactly sure what the complaints are, but that may solve the issue as well, and still allow easy delivery for reasonably sized vehicles and keep the biggest trucks off the road. We have no particular preference either way from a police department standpoint, but from a practical standpoint of allowing the businesses to conduct their business, that might be an option. But as far as the Central Avenue trucks, I think from a prosecution standpoint, we may argue that we could prosecute that case because they have a different option to get to Central Avenue without using that road. So if we were to write a summons, our argument would be that they have 35 as an option, or Shrewsbury Avenue as an option. So that's our concern from an enforcement aspect.
35.
It really comes down to enforcement. I mean, so what you're talking about is non-terminating truck traffic, essentially. So if it terminates in the area, then it's allowed. If it doesn't terminate in the area, it's not allowed. So you're essentially banning passengers through. And it really becomes an enforcement issue. I mean, it's not like there's a scale out there for you. You know, a fully loaded truck weighs a lot more than a non-loaded truck. And so from the police department's perspective, it's really what you guys can enforce, because enforcement is always, it's a non-terminating ordinance is fine, but however you want to write it up or whether we have to go, it really comes down to, you know, what your officers are capable of doing, in essence, so they don't have, X-ray vision.
Right,
So
we
respect.
typically enforce commercial vehicles are supposed to have their gross vehicle weight posted on the side, and it has to be registered. We typically base our enforcement off of the gross vehicle weight registered, which a lot of the larger box trucks are 26,000 pounds, which is 13 tons, which is why the sergeant came up with a 13-ton limit as opposed to a 4-ton, which is very, very small, really, when you talk about a box truck. So, again, it's up to the council. We have no specific preference. We're just giving the different options.
So you would recommend 13?
Well, it depends. I don't know exactly. The complaint didn't come through the police department, so I really don't know what the complaint specifically was. My real concern is if we're trying to avoid vehicles going to a certain area of town, I don't know that this really does it, because no vehicle would be allowed to use that roadway and get there. If we're talking about Central Avenue, in my opinion, because they could use Shrewsbury Avenue to Dr. James Parker Boulevard. I hate to move the problem elsewhere. If we push them off of Bridge Avenue, we're pushing them onto other streets, and that just becomes an issue on those streets, and we could chase our tail all day doing that. So, that's really my concern. It's from a quality of life issue for the streets we push them onto, and a practical standpoint from the enforcement perspective, as well as that the trucks have to get where they're going without undue hardship.
And we do have tractor trailers that operate off of Central Avenue. Their home base is Central Avenue.
We do, and I would agree that tractor trailers probably do not belong on Bridge Avenue, because it is a primarily residential street, and they should be on 35. A box truck the size of a large U-Haul, I'm not sure it's such a problem. But again, I don't know exactly what the motive behind this is, the complaint behind it.
Two simple reasons, and I think we all understand what the driving force was that, is that unlike Shrewsbury Avenue, Bridge Avenue is predominantly a residential street. Unlike Shrewsbury Avenue, the width of Bridge Avenue is substantially wider than Shrewsbury Avenue, which from a common sense standpoint, unfortunately, sort of encourages people to violate the speed limit, because it's brand new and repaved, and they can basically avoid the traffic on Shrewsbury Avenue and go a lot faster on Bridge and then reconnect to Shrewsbury. So quality of life, speed, and noise factor at 3 o'clock in the morning when a lot of these tractor trailers go down Bridge Avenue. So if we can agree maybe 4 tons is not what we should be doing, a greater tonnage limit, I think that's fine with me. All I'm saying is I think we ought to do something to at least assist the residential character of Bridge Avenue.
I think another aspect of this, and we've been trying for a long time to get the state to do this, is to better post directional signs for Highway 35 north and south as you approach Red Bank. A lot of truck drivers find themselves lost on Bridge Avenue. They certainly don't want to be there. They lost Highway 35 coming over the bridge, and they went straight. And it's not very obvious, I don't think, to a guy driving an 18-wheeler who's from a different state that Highway 35 makes a sharp left there. We've asked the state numerous times to post that better, and to no avail, really. So that might, in addition to the limit, aid in, the fact of the matter, if it's a truck driver from a different state is lost, we're probably not going to write him a summons anyway. He certainly did it unintentionally. So better signage just on that aspect would help as well, with the 13-ton limit or whatever you decide.
Okay. What's the council's pleasure? Comments?
Yeah, I want to echo what Chief talked about, moving the problem to another street. I mean, Shrewsbury Avenue is not wide. The turning radius on some of those intersections is not wide. You're forcing other, larger trucks onto those kind of, on 35 Shrewsbury Avenue could create even more problems than just allowing the occasional truck down Bridge Avenue. And I'm saying that as somebody who lives on Bridge Avenue. I think, if anything, the higher tonnage would be the way to go. That's my opinion. 13 tons is probably the way to go.
Yeah, I would agree that, I think that box trucks are certainly fine to drive on there. I mean, it's wide enough and they can make those turns. But we don't want tractor trailers driving.
So we want to increase the tonnage limit,
Yeah, I think
forward to something that would be more in that vicinity where that would preclude that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's what I suggested, maybe, you okay with that, Kathy? Councilman Zipridge?
Yes.
Yes?
That was a
Okay.
yes.
That was a yes.
I mean, 35,
Didn't sound like
Maple
it.
Avenue is small too, you know, I mean, it's like it's a real problem, I mean.
It is, but all the pass-through traffic wants to be on 35 anyway. It's just that they're misplacing themselves when they come over the bridge, and then there's the local businesses who maybe should be on 35 and just don't. Although, as Councilman Taylor said, there are some tight turning radiuses, but they do it and can do it. It just, you might have slight tie-ups at the intersections when they're doing so.
Commissioner?
I agree with Mark, Councilor Erickson, and Chief. Let's use 13 as the bar level set for right now. If we need to adjust it, we can adjust it.
Linda?
I agree.
Okay. Greg, you got your marching orders.
Should we change all the streets to?
No, just bridge,
One category
just bridge.
bridge.
The discussion
Add a
is,
new section for 13 tons and then
Right.
bridge.
Bridge is the only one.
bridge, yeah, that's it. Okay. Next. River Ranger requests. Stanley. Where?
Yes, this is a request from the River Rangers who run a summer program where they actually build boats, get people in canoes, and teach children about water safety as well as the environment in the St. River. They've been doing this for a number of years. They used to launch from Marine Park. They've been launching from 300 Maple Avenue. In 2016, they did not because of concerns over water quality, and basically they came back this year and wanted to restart it. And so we advised them to fill out their facilities use permit and provide insurance. Part of that process is also to get the Marion Council approved. So with the condition that we get adequate insurance to determine $1 million indemnity from in accordance with our insurance fund requirements, like we do for most special events. This would be a simple request that we haven't approved in the past.
All right, my recommendation is we approve it subject to the submission of insurance certificate naming the borough harmless at a level of $1 million or greater. Any other debate on that? Okay, we're all okay with it? Well, all right, Stan, you got your marching orders. Approval of the minutes for June 28th. Motion? No. Motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Mayoral appointments to Thomas Lavetti as mayoral representative to the Monmouth County NJTPA Local Concept Development Study for the Monmouth County Oceanic Bridge, and also the appointment of Stephanie Albanese to the Library Board of Trustees as a full member for an unexpired 5-year term ending 12/31/2020. Motion to confirm?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Reports of mayor and council committee members. Linda?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mark, I know you're not feeling well, so we're brief. Thank you. Michael?
I'll be quick as well. The CPR event that the fire department's going to hold is going to be August 19th from 9 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon at the library. It's $20. That comes with lunch and a CPR certified card. I also want to congratulate the Doc Holiday Car Show, another successful year, a huge turnout. I know a lot of the council members went, so thanks for supporting. Also as well, from the police standpoint, a couple of things that the chief and I were talking about that we wanted to quickly report on. We just gained a conviction in the 2014 attempted murder of a young man on Willow Street through the hard work of the Red Bank Police Department and Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. Anthony Sims was convicted on all charges and faces life in prison. Detective Bob Campanello and Detective James DePonte led the investigation for Red Bank, along with detectives from the Prosecutor's Office. So a big win and congratulations for the hard work on the police department. Also, backed by popular demand, we're going to reinstate the department's bike patrol, where officers will be on their bikes, riding throughout the downtown and other areas to just more involved with the community, look at quality of life issues. And also, the chief is dressed in his uniform tonight because he implemented this program, I don't know how many years ago, but to get the administrative guys, officers back into uniform and out on patrol. And I actually saw the chief at about 11:30 the other night pulling someone over, so it's good seeing him out on the street. back with the other guys. So good program, getting the captains and the chiefs back out on the road. Lastly, the parking committee met last week. It was a great meeting. Between the parking committee, we covered a lot of areas, not just with the garage. I wanted to just ask the council a couple quick things. We had a tentative date, we believed, if it was okay with the mayor, that we'd have on August 9th, after our council meeting, when we would hold the public comment meeting. We would move our council meeting earlier. We'd maybe start the council meeting at 5, and then at the middle school or another location would be the public comment meeting at like 6:30. The whole governing body would be there, the developers would be there, and the public can come and address their concerns and their comments and their questions they may have for the developers on their presentations. So
That's
that's
it for the developers?
Well-
They don't have to be here.
no, but we're going to invite them if they want to show up and answer the
Yeah,
questions
it's
of the
not a
public.
question and answer period for the developers, it's basically for the public to comment.
Right, just public, right, yeah. I misworded that, just as a public comment meeting, and the developers can be there as well as the governing body. I'd like to see if we can pick a special evening and do it before August 9th if possible. I know everyone's schedules are tight, but obviously the next couple of council meetings, I know Councilman Zipper's going to be here tonight, and the following council meeting, the Indie Street Festival starts, and we didn't want to pull businesses away from the first day at night of that festival. So that brought us out to that August 9th council meeting. But if we can find any other day during the week to just have a special meeting for the public comment, then maybe we could think about that.
We will have a public meeting and public comment. I know the Business Association or Business Alliance has something on the 13th, and anybody's welcome to go, but that's not a public comment for the public. And I'll take a look at the schedule, and we will put it on the agenda. In the meantime, I will be discussing with individual council members on various options, as well as with our redevelopment council. And we'll have one-on-one discussions with each individual council person.
Thank you, Mayor.
Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The summer series featuring music, fitness, and jazz is officially underway. Thank you to Frankie Woods of Code Enforcement for setting us up with 5 antique cars for movie Grease last night. The next jazz concert will be tomorrow and feature Carrie Jackson and a special warm-up performance from the middle school jazz band at 7. Concerts will continue every Thursday night at 7 throughout the summer. The Dog Days of Summer will return to Monmouth Street on August 29th and on September 26th. And also, I'd like to report back from the Navesink River Municipality Committee. We've been working with Clean Ocean Action on doing citizen testing program of the river in attempts to clean up the river and get our shellfish designation back to where they can shellfish in it. The first round of testing has come back, and Redback is doing a great job. I'd like to applaud the DPW for doing those repairs along the Harrison Ave and Marion areas, where now they've shown great results down in the Navesink River. And I'd also like to thank the police department and DPW for putting up those 25-mile-per-hour signs on South Bridge. That was brought to our attention last council meeting.
Thank you, Eric. Ed?
One brief item, Mayor. I just,
Okay. Yeah.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank Jim Scavone and Margaret Madison, the entire team at River Center for the Symphony, New Jersey Symphony in the Park on the 2nd of July. Really wonderful night. They did a great job, and the team at the Department of Public Utilities and the police department really did an outstanding job that night. And I think everybody had a very, very enjoyable evening. We hope that this will be setting the trend for years to come.
Thank you. Kathy?
Well, following up on that artistic, cultural report, I wanted to talk about the Indie Street Film Festival, the second annual one, which will take place here July 26th through the 30th. This is a film festival that will be screening independent feature films as well as short documentaries and long documentaries too. There'll be multiple venues, the Bowtie Cinema, the Two River Theater, even the Red Bank Middle School, and the Count Basie, which will be the anchor theater for the whole thing. There will be panel discussions, question and answer sessions with filmmakers, and there will be parties locally at the different restaurants and bars. But I think this is something that I hope will be an annual event. It will bring in a lot of people, it will be good for businesses, and I think it will put us on the map, maybe on a par with Sundance. I'm being very optimistic here, but why not? Tribeca, and maybe even the Cannes Film Festival. Last year, 75 films were featured from 25 different countries. 3,000 people attended. There were 34 local businesses engaged, 105 volunteers, and more than 1 million fans and followers who were reached on social media. So that will take place, as I said, July 26th to the 30th. If you're interested in getting tickets, there are all access passes as well. You can go to www.Indie Street Film Festival, all one word, and Indie is INDIE.org/attend. And in conjunction with that is a promotional event. If you have an opportunity to go down to Layton Avenue to Kitsch, a mural was put up this past weekend by residents, kids from the middle school, kids who don't go to school yet. I was down there the other day, they were kind of painting themselves. But it should be a really important event here, and I want to thank Jim Scavone because he is working very hard on this as well. I've been asked to be on the board, and I feel very honored about that, and so we're working very hard on this. So I hope you'll all take advantage of this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you.
And that's all.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to any members of the public have any comments regarding any ordinance or resolutions on the agenda this evening? Mr. Boyd.
P.O. Box 2074, Great.
Good evening, Mr. Boyd.
Mr. Miller, good evening, Council. I just want to speak on behalf about the truck on Ridge Avenue. I heard y'all talking about it. I drive trucks. It's going to be hard for an 18-wheeler to make that turn off of Bridge Avenue on the Chestnut to go down to Shrewsbury Avenue if you come across that bridge. It's going to be hard. You're going to take that pole down, on Chestnut and Bridge to make that turn. When you get to Shrewsbury Avenue, it's going to be hard for him to swing that truck out. Come on Shrewsbury Avenue. Trust me. I'm not saying, that there shouldn't be no trucks on that road. If you come the other way, go down Chestnut Street, it's going to be hard for him to make that turn on Chestnut to Maple. You can't turn the 18-wheeler just like that. I seen it happen in Eatontown a couple weeks ago. And on 35, man came up the road, made the right-hand turn, took the whole pole light down. He had to swing it. Took the pole light down. It's going to be kind of hard. I mean, you can do it, but it's going to be kind of hard because these trucks do come over that bridge. When they get over that bridge, they don't see the sign say 35 or this and that. Because a lot of times they come up there and they ask which way is 35, we tell them over here to make that turn.
Thank you,
so
Fred.
it's something to look into.
Thank you, sir. Okay, on ordinances, motion to close the public portion. Second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Communications and petitions from Molly Hesser for membership First Aid and Rescue Squad. Motion, Michael? So moved. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Request from River Center for free parking on July 28th, 29th, and July 30th for the sidewalk sale. Motion? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? For ordinances for first reading, ordinance 2017-24, and ordinance amending chapter 352, fiber optic cables to comply with the provisions of NJSA 54:38-24. This is as previously discussed, and the council is authorizing the fiber optic cables pursuant to the Communications Act. Motion to introduce. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Public hearing, Pam, will be when? July 26, 6:30 p.m. There are no ordinances for public hearing and final adoptions, resolutions by consent unless there is any objection from the council. Resolution 17-156. 158 and 159. Motion? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 17-160 is a resolution authorizing T&M Associates to provide design services and remedial investigation services in regard to the Bellhaven Park project. Motion? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Proclamations, there are none. Resolution 17-157, which is be it resolved by the Mayor and Council, the bill to be paid on the attached check registry totaling $1,425,945.38. Motion. Second. All in favor? Any old business? Any new business? Audience? Yes, Linda.
Linda Cohen, 28 Riverside
Use the
Avenue.
microphone, please, Linda.
Linda Cohen, 28 Riverside Avenue, Red Bank. I wanted to clarify our date with regard to the parking proposals at this point. Where are we and where are we going? And at what moment?
We're going to have a public hearing on it, and then we'll decide.
And what was the date for the public hearing? Because that seemed ambiguous to me.
Right.
Well, it's still, the mayor is going to we threw out the date of August 9th, and maybe doing a special meeting. The mayor is going to look and hopefully announce a day within the next couple of days that would be best fit.
Just so there's enough time for people to be aware and.
Yeah, it'll be announced after we decide what happens tomorrow night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Myers.
Thank you, Mayor. William Meyer, 12 Loma Street, Red Bank. I got in here a little bit late because I was up north, and I wanted to comment on the authorization to provide design services and remedial investigation services in regard to Bellhaven Park project. And this is, I guess Yogi Berra said, past deja vu all over again. My understanding is, shouldn't a lot of this have been done previously when we had that fiasco with the water sprinkler park at Bellhaven? My understanding, and I have the paperwork, I'm quite sure to show it.
This deals with an environmental issue and some follow-up that has to be done in terms of environmental capping. I think Councilman Youngstrom has already addressed that, but so it is not a complete reinvigoration of the project, but this deals with follow-up remediation and also capping of certain areas.
All right, well,
it has to be done.
I thank you for that, but my understanding is they were working on the remediation and the environmental aspects way back when. So theoretically, we paid for all that engineering. We were supposed to have done it. It should have been complete at that point, and we should never have been talking about a water sprinkler park at that time, in my opinion. I mean, that's talk about the cart before the horse. We spent $73,000, give or take a little bit, on soft engineering costs in connection with that water sprinkler park. That money was burned and wasted completely. We had no consensus for what they were going to do there. And this is one of my problems with all this money that you guys keep spending and all these projects that you keep throwing up here. Every time you spend a lot of money, that's less money we have to do something else that we need to do. A water sprinkler park, in the words of the councilman that was pushing it back in the day, quote unquote, and to me, it was a dumb idea. But he authorized the $73,000 anyhow. I would like to see him pay back out of his pocket the $73,000. In fact, I would love to see you put an ordinance together that anybody who violates his fiduciary duty to us as a trustee should be able to be sued personally for that money back. I mean, wasting that much money is like taking 10 people's or 8 people's property tax bill and throwing it, the money, and throwing it away. Now, it says design services, which to me connotes something very vague. It doesn't say whether it's...
May I make a suggestion? Again, the only thing that I am acting on is a proposal that was placed on the council agenda. There's backup information. what we have been given is a letter dated May 9, 2017 by T&M, and it's been reviewed by the parking committee. So all of those services would be in this letter, and if you don't have a copy of that, I'm sorry?
Parks Commission.
Excuse me?
Parks Committee. That's up here.
Parks and
Oh,
Rec.
I'm sorry, the Parks Committee. I would be happy to give you a copy of it, but it's like a 5-page letter, and that's what this comes from.
The fact that it's Parks Commission actually bothers me more than if it came from the Environmental Commission. That connotes to me that we're dealing again with making some kind of playground over there, as opposed to dealing with an environmental issue. And this is something that should have been brought up and
The
the public
Environmental
should.
Commission addressed it last night.
Okay, well then why is Parks Commission involved in it?
Because this is a park, under our park system. We actually met with a bunch of the members from the EC, with T&M, and we talked about different ideas for down there. But this is actually for an additional, well, it's $19,700 for the design aspects of it, which we have to do because the spray feature was thrown out. So now we have to redesign the park. In this, there's $14,000 that remains unallocated, so it's only about a $5,700 increase that we're asking for. And then for the remediation and investigation services, the new LSRP from T&M feels that the contamination is localized to one area where the house used to be. Before, the whole plan was to cap the entire site. Now the LSRP thinks that it's localized, so they want to do these additional tests to make sure that it's localized. If that's true, they're going to excavate it, and we won't need to cap the site, and it'll be clean. So that's why this remediation, extra remediation investigation, they want it.
Well, again, my point is, that should be accomplished first, prior to anything else, any design for a park or anything else,
Yeah,
and allow the public to be heard, because I know that the local neighbors over there were apoplectic against the design that came up, and it really was. Okay, but a large,
So you can't say everyone.
well, everyone that I heard, okay, let me put it that way, everyone that I heard was against it. I did not hear one person that I can recall coming forward and saying that they were. I'm sure there are, but the hue and cry came from people who were against it. And they voiced really good reasons for it. And the concept of a water sprinkler park over there, and what it would bring into the neighborhood, and the liability factors, and the cost. The cost estimate that we had was, it was, I think, well over 800,000 or something they were talking about.
I can tell you that the water sprinkler feature, any water feature is not going to be in this.
But I just would like the public to have an opportunity to, before we spend money in designing anything, that let the public decide what they are interested in having over there. And then also to tighten up, our expenses. I was under the impression that we had the environmental part of this all squared away, which is why they were going to do the water sprinkler. Thank you.
Before you reply, I'm just going to excuse Councilman Taylor because I know he was not feeling well an hour ago, and his fever's pretty high, so I'm going to excuse him. Mark, I hope you feel better. Okay, Eric, go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off.
We just got the rest of that sick.
Okay.
So,
Ms. Kacianica.
Thank you for hearing the
Why don't you
comments.
use the other one that's already on?
Oh, I didn't see that one. I saw my eyes. Okay, Kathleen Gazenica, 110 Locust Avenue, Red Bank. First of all, I want to clear up a misconception that I've heard that I am board president for the Bellhaven Condominium Commons Association. And I heard that everybody thinks that we're against a park in this area. And that's totally incorrect. We actually embrace an idea that would go into this area that would be well-designed, smart plan with the environmentally sensitive area taken into consideration, that is eagle foraging, and we'd be all for it. We think it's an excellent spot for a passive, smaller size recreation area for children to experience real nature, and it's abundant in that area, and that they could learn about the intriguing components of the wetlands and to restore a deteriorating, neglected, unhealthy wetlands that it currently is in and getting worse ever since this process started back in, actually it goes back to 2005, I believe, when the first grant was made for that area, that contained no maintenance plan. So all of that money is totally wasted. Now I have a couple of questions. What do we have to show for the $73,000 that went to T&M Engineering? I can show you a lot of deterioration and neglect. And I can show you a design that if it were a personal service on a private property, I would not have paid 1 cent for that design. The design did not include even consideration for the 15 head of deer that are in there, that the plants are deer tolerant. It did not include that the plants were salt tolerant. The way of putting the, remediating the Phragmites was technically infeasible. They would have been back in a year. The way that they were going to install a cement base, and I understand that's off things now, but why is it off? Because the public came up and said, this is a technically infeasible design. That cement basin would have been broken up in a year. The rubber mats would have been corroded by the salt. All of this. Since Sandy, that property is significantly impacted by both sea level rise and the change of the entrance to the Navesink River, where a whole lot more water is coming down there. So the flooding that I introduced to this council years ago is now at least double. Every new moon and full moon. The Phragmites has gotten further up on the property, way into Bellhaven condominium property. So these are all things that need to be considered when it comes up to design. And I understand this is a preliminary thing. But the question needs to be answered. What do we have to show for that $73,000? Now, recently, and this is the irony of all ironies, it was determined to be a wetlands. It was on the wetland map, delineated and proven with 2 surveys. Again, T&M did a duplicate survey that was done by the people who built the condominiums I live in. And the markers for the property delineation and the wetland were exactly the same as the one that was done about 10 years early. Now that would have been sufficient for an initial proposal. I granted when you do a full design, you'd probably have to repeat the survey, but it was duplicated at, I'm sure, a huge cost. The point is that since that, okay, they determined, and the DEP guy was right there with me on the property and saying we had to give them the permit. It's a builder's loophole that says if it is an artificial wetlands, then you can not treat it as true wetlands. And they determined that because they said there was an imprint from a house that left the depression that the Phragmites grew into. Well, the Phragmites are on 100% of the property and on private property as well. So that's hardly, maybe it contributed a little bit to it, but not really. Then they, because of that, they could do it in the name of remediation because they found contamination. The site had an oil tank on it that was removed, and according to the DEP, was remediated, removed by the builder who did the property where the condominiums are. And even though it was public property, that was part of the deal in order to get his permits to build there. He removed it, and it was remediated to the standards of the DEP. That was done again 10 years earlier. Now all of a sudden they found some more contamination. And again, now we're doing more testing for contamination. The gentleman who just spoke, I agree. This is all stuff that should have been done immediately before you even entered into it, because it has a huge impact on the overall cost of the project. So again, my question is, what do we have to show for the $73,000? Now, here's the irony. They haven't been mowing the grass in the little postage-sized pieces about the size of this table. There are about 4 of them around the informational signs that were put in there with the original grant. And they at least did that and emptied the garbage cans. And I worked and had a good working relationship with Gary Watson, and that was maintained. Now all of a sudden this year they're not mowing the grass. So I called up DPW, and she said she put in a report, and I get a call back from the new head of DPW, I forget his name right now, and he said he's went and inspected the area, and he said, we can't do anything in there because it's wetlands. And I thought that was a pretty interesting response. So it's like,
I don't think we've ever spoken.
I spoke to you on the phone.
Okay.
Yeah. After I called your department and then you got back to me. Yeah. Anyway, the point is, yeah. So I'd like to know who initiated this new expense to T&M. Where's that $73,000?
Okay.
$73,000, okay, one more thing.
Let me just try to
It's
answer one or
completely
two
littered.
quick questions for you.
Okay, it's
And
completely.
first of all, we do have a limit of 3, and, you know,
Minutes, okay, I know, I have,
But let me
get
just
there.
condense it. You raised some good questions. The previous work that was done was for plans and designs, which ultimately a number of members of the council had some questions on. We listened to the public. Those plans and designs, which were initiated by the previous Parks and Rec Committee, were ultimately rejected by the council based upon a number of different factors. And I believe your testimony was pervasive in some of those issues that came up. You taught me the definition of Phragmites.
And Spartina, as I recall.
And I know how to spell it now. And so a lot of it was in design work. And again, I have in the past been critical of a lot of expenses for design stuff. But in this particular instance, all of those expenses in the past that were authorized by the council were only done by T&M because different plans were changed by the council. And of course, they billed every time we changed the plans, or the council changed the plans. In terms of the environmental work, as I understand it, the request that is before us came from the Parks and Rec Committee based upon their analysis and the expert opinion that they have been given that evidently one of the tanks that existed on the property, where on the property I personally don't know, was evidently a large oil tank, an underground storage tank. It was, I think, a 500-gallon capacity, and there is some seepage in or residual seepage of whatever had existed in terms of contaminations. So the work product that we are authorizing based on this letter of May 7th, and I will be happy to provide you a copy for your perusal, is basically environmental work and not design work to try to eliminate whatever the environmental issues are once and for all. Is that correct, Eric?
That's correct. And
Well, why does it say redesign? And that still doesn't answer the question. If you get an initial plan from an engineering company that doesn't take into account the basic nature of the place that they're building and designing, why should we pay them more money?
The design that was,
Take an answer.
the design that was prepared was at the direction of committee members and input from the public. Now,
But isn't engineers,
Let him finish.
okay, I'm sorry.
the engineers took input from the Parks Committee, Public Works people, and representatives of the volunteer rec committee at the time. And at the time, we were looking at developing that as a useful park for all members of that community. Not just a passive park, but at least some rec features for children that live in the area. We have several multiple dwellings there. We have a lot of families there. And rather than have the kids
We
have
understand the need for it.
Let me finish. Rather than have the children walk around to the primary school or walk to Count Basie Park, it was felt we have this park property that's developed as a park that would be more useful to the younger residents of the area. And also at the time, there was a concern for those people that don't have access to pools or beaches or beach clubs.
We understand the
And
need.
there was a talk about doing a municipal pool. The costs of that are extravagant. We had no location. And then was thought, because people had seen small spray features in parks, not a Doorbrook destination,
We
but small
understand.
spray features. So to say it was a water park is ludicrous. It was a small spray features where somebody steps on a pedal to get squirted with some water. All right? Unfortunately, that got blown out of proportion. About busloads of people coming down there, etc. And every time we make a change, we have to redesign. Make it smaller. Change the equipment. Not as big. Not the fake tree sprinkling, but just some things in the sidewalk. Coming up from below. Every change that was, as a result, over, you say how long we've been doing this, change in committees, change with committee chairs and committee members, different ideas. Get input from the EC, changes in the EC, different ideas. Every change costs us money. Now we have a new council committee. We want to get this thing done. So how do we do this? Well, we do have this issue. We had to do a preliminary assessment for environmental contamination. We did identify the former tank that had been removed, but there is some residual contamination they found in the preliminary assessment. They also found that there was a former septic system there, a septic field, septic facility, and they found some residuals of that. So the next step is that became a site eligible for needs remediation, and we started this process in 2011 or 12, and the clock started ticking. And we had to do this within, once you identify that, you have to do the remediation. So what this project is go forward with the remediation. It may cost this, but if we don't find a whole lot, it may cost this. But we can't award a contract on the little and go back and go back and go back. So the estimate is this. Plus, part of the remediation, we have to have a plan. So they're going to be working with a committee on a revised plan, taking into comments. They've been meeting with the EC, they've been meeting with the rec committees to revise the plans, do away with the water feature, which had been decided. This thing was ready to go to bid, but the water feature has an alternate. We could have gone out to bid and not awarded the water feature.
No, actually, that was not going to be allowed. I spoke to the grantor.
Let's not bring.
No, if we know.
You're absolutely right, it wasn't going to be.
I'd like him to answer the question today.
Well, answering the question, the plans were prepared, and it was suggested by me that we make an alternate, so at least you get the price, because everybody's saying it's going to be 500,000, this, that, the other. At least get the price of the feature, and you have all the information. You don't have to award it. Well, change in the committee again, and now, no, we're not going to go out to bid with that plan. So we're back to now we have to change the plan, but that's secondary to getting the remediation done. So the main part of this is let's get the remediation done, and then part of the remediation plan we have to come up with some concept of what we're going to do to finish it.
Okay, I don't think that you understood my question.
I did.
Who are the experts here? That's been the constant all the way through.
I'm sorry, who the what?
Who are the experts on building a park? We all have great grandiose ideas of, having a park. We all want some recreation. We totally agree with that. But who are the experts in designing it? Who did we pay the $72,000 to?
Well, you know who we paid it to.
Yes, I know, but I want Mr. Sickles to say that because
I'm
it
saying
doesn't. Okay,
what's the next question?
Yes, the question is, if you get a design from an expert, and you also have the American Literal Society Executive Director come in and give you an expert opinion as well, and there wasn't one feature of that was included in the design.
Well, we had discussions.
Okay, but
yes, I know, I was at that
meeting. Reinventing an argument that happened last year. Let's deal with what we have right now. Your question is well taken. Why are you spending this money?
Right.
And the answer is because under the advice of our expert, which is T&M Associates, our engineer, as well as our citizen volunteer committee of the Parks and Rec Committee and our council representative on the Parks and Rec Committee and this committee, it is deemed advisable that we finish the process that was started with respect to the environmental assessment and remediation if it has to be done. The interesting thing to remember is that if this is effectuated, and since this is within an environmental conservation and reclamation area, we will be getting back 75% of the expendable cost by way of a grant. So your
but not
question
the soft
is,
money though, right?
I'm sorry?
None of the T&M money would be part of that grant, from my
The
understanding.
developmental costs, which are part of it, yeah.
For the park and the environmental.
Yeah, the environmental.
I
would be
understood
the-
that all of the soft money.
No, but the
Yeah.
environmental.
But that's another,
The
that's
rules for
another
the
point.
HDSRF are, if it relates to the environmental remediation, you get 75% back. If it relates to the design of a park or something, other public improvement or feature, obviously that's on the borough, because that is a hazardous discharge site remediation
Okay.
fund. Those are the rules, and so we're all talking about the same thing.
Yeah, with all due respect, Mayor, Mr. Sickles was going through the whole history. I didn't need to know all the committee changes. My point was, we have the same experts that were on the initial plan that didn't even know that there were deer who lived in that area or that salt kills plants. And we're continuing to pay for redesign of a design that was faulty right from the beginning, and we're still giving them money when I'm questioning the environmental expertise of this particular engineering firm.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Okay,
Your comment is well taken, yeah.
all right.
Mr. Flores, you got your hand up, sir.
I did, on the same topic, different. Ben Farr, 16 Locust Avenue. Hello, okay. Ben Farr, 16 Locust Avenue. I mean, for 20 years we've lived there. This property, when I moved there in '96, it was actually a house there. I don't need to talk about any of the other things that have already come up. I don't agree with it. You know, everybody has a different take, as you say. There was even a petition here about what the community thinks about having a park there. Amy and I have never been enthusiastic about the idea of a kind of busy thing there. So that's just our two takes. But what I guess my point is, I hope the Recreation Committee, and I'm willing to volunteer and help go door to door, what we should do is a survey, I think, of the area, maybe part of Layton Avenue as well, of the immediate area, maybe to get some feedback that's real on, you know, what neighbors really want there. There's been a lot of representation throughout this entire thing for years about who thinks what. And, you know, I haven't met anybody on Locust Avenue who wants to park there. I mean, that wants an active kind of park there. You know, a small, low impact, maybe some kids, things to climb on, but, you know, certainly nothing that was going to pull a lot of cars down the end of our street. So, what I'm thinking is that maybe doing some sort of survey in Spanish and in English, and hit all the apartments, hit all the residential neighborhood, you know, and actually get some information about what the immediate neighborhood likes is somewhat real. I know there was a survey, I mean, there was some sort of petition given to you guys at one point about what people thought, but I don't remember recognizing any names from Locust Avenue of anyone there. There may have been, I didn't go through the whole thing. And I'm sure there are people who probably wanted a spray park or whatever was going to be down there. But that's all. So I'm open and I'm willing to put my time in there to help.
It's a good idea, sir.
All right.
Thank you. Anybody else?
We do have a petition that was in favor, that is on.
Stanley, we don't have to go into that anymore. Mr. Boynton.
P.O. Box 2074, Red Bank. Mr. Miller, Councilman, I'm going to try to make this fast because I know people's time. A couple of weeks ago, I lost my niece. And I had family members from all over, Miami, North Carolina, South Carolina. The funeral home on Shrewsbury Avenue was packed. It was very hot. But early that day, me and my niece and my sister had to go to review the body, make sure it was okay. We had the service later that night. About 12 o'clock, we went up there, and the little locker was running over. Both sides, garbage hanging out, running over. Came back, everybody couldn't fit in the funeral home. It was hot. We were drinking water and soda out on the sidewalk, everybody was in there. Didn't have a place to put the cans. Little lockers running over. Don't get me wrong. Got these trucks riding around. Mr. Simmons, they got to do something.
What time of day was this?
It was up there at 12 o'clock, we had to go back to view the body. We walked from the lodge up there to view the body, just a handful of us. And I noticed the little locker was running over. So I said, hey, they're gonna come by and pick it up. Later on, we had the service up there. Little locker was a dump. So everybody, you know, got the bottles and cans, and we got a little bag and put them in it. But people's riding around, Mr. Silvers, and Mr. Miller, this is your town. You're the mayor of this town. This town shouldn't be looking like this. Or these little lockers shouldn't be like this. When these guys get paid money to do their job, and they ride around and see that little locker like that, and don't want to stop to take 2 minutes to dump that little locker and keep going. They'd rather let it fall to the next day. That is a disgrace. This is a disgrace, Mr. Simmons, in this town. For all these people to come here and see this town like that. These people get paid good money to do their job. But they rather get these new trucks and ride around all day doing nothing. Can't say because a man got CR here. I don't want to hear that. Chapin Avenue is a senior citizen place, nurse home. They can't work, that's where they need to go. Care who they are. The other thing, Mr. Miller, is I've been getting feedback, and I didn't want to bring this out, but you have a lot of employees falsifying their time. They're not here at the time that they're supposed to be here, put in 8 hours. They write the time sheet in, they write it in. Can't do that, Mr. Simmons. They can't do that. That's against the law. And I think if they're doing that, we need to get in touch with the Mama County, U.S. Attorney's Office, let them do a thorough investigation, seeing if these people putting in their 8 hours, what they're supposed to be doing on this job. Can't be working somewhere else or you somewhere else and coming in here right now at 8 o'clock and being paid for that and you're not here.
Okay, Fred,
Miller,
I
think we need to
appreciate
look
that.
into that.
The only thing I would do is if you have any direct information, if you don't want to talk to the borough about it, I certainly think that the first assistant Monmouth County prosecutors would be interested in finding out. So the borough would be happy to coordinate, would help in any way, fashion by providing any records if you have information. It is our desire and intent to make sure that people who are employed execute their duties to the best of
I
their
had brought it up to Mr. Simmons once before. So
Well,
it
he
will
can't
be-
do the investigation.
I know
so-
he can't do the investigation, but I had brought it up to him. It would be a letter to be sent out.
Mayor, I just have a question regarding what Mr. Boynton just brought up. I know we now have the hand puncher, so I don't know, what do you mean that people are writing it in? Because I think you have to.
No, you don't, we don't
That's
want
what
to go
I'm
down, it's not hand punching, it's some employees don't use the time. You know, you got some employees, Stanley know what I'm talking about. Maybe you can explain, you know what I'm talking about.
I'll talk to you after.
All right. The other thing is, Mr. Sipples, I brought it to Stanley's attention. I want to make this fast. And I spoke to Cliff, and back of our lodge, Celeste Lodge, we had firewood. I loaded up the truck today, took it out to Mass, dumped it. Firewood. That, I spoke to Cliff. He said, no, don't take it down there. I was down there the other day. Big tree stumps in the dumpster. Big tree stumps. Dougie not here. Told Dougie go take pictures. These are wood that they cut up. We was gonna use it, but they didn't use it. Couldn't take it down. So we went out there. We took it out there. Took it out there today. As a matter of fact, I got some on my truck now. Going out there tomorrow to Mass. Get rid of it. Well, I mean, if we set it out on the street, they'll pick it up. But if you take it down in your truck, they won't pick it up. They won't take it. Well, you know, I spoke to a lot of the brothers up there. We're looking forward to having another meeting. We're working on it now. We're going to contact you. Y'all will come to the meeting that you can.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Meyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Very quickly, I just want to remind the council that with regard to these engineering costs, there was a discussion on the well a long time ago, and this is one of my concerns about $73,000 in future engineering costs. I'm not impressed with how we use our engineers. Everybody knows engineers and engineering firms donate heavily to political campaigns. They are then endeared to each other. We had a well design and some questions regarding the well design that to this day I still think was unnecessary and based on what I read could have been prevented. And in that situation, there was testimony that the cost for the engineering on the well design was going to be $85,000 approximately. And the reason for that was because the estimate for the well was going to be $850,000, and the engineering firm billed 10% of the cost of the project. That is, in my opinion, totally improper, it's not fair, and it's irresponsible. In the private sector, people don't go for that. They don't do it. I know it happens with architects on occasion, but very rarely. And the big problem in this particular case was we had a question asked of that engineer, have you ever done this before? And the answer was yes, 3 or 4 times. So that means 3 or 4 times we had a well design. And I can tell you that the well design is substantially the same whether it's up at Tower Hill or down below with some modifications. So we should have had some kind of ownership of those design rights, and it should have been something that we could have just adjusted for the location. So I just urge you all to start being fiscally responsible and let the public in before you make these decisions that are prerequisite to going further. I mean, I'm just apoplectic over this. I can't believe how poorly money's spent here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, is there, being no further members of the public to address the council, is there a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters as well as contractual issues concerning bids? No formal action will be taken this evening. Second?
Yes.
Not on personnel issue.
Not on the personnel, but
Oh, I'm sorry, on the bids, which is, yeah, okay, on a possible bid, yes. There will be formal action on a possible bid, but not on a personnel action. Motion? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're adjourned.